Welcome to Legacy Lounge, the podcast where you'll discover how to lead with purpose and build a legacy that matters. So if you're ready to step into your full potential, show up authentically for yourself and others, and create a lasting impact on the world, you're in the right place. Let's begin. Why your best employee just became your absolute worst manager. It's time we talk about something, the thing that nobody is saying out loud, so I'm going to say it. Promoting your best employee is setting you up for possibly one of your worst managers. Let's say you just promoted your top performer into a supervisor position. They crushed it on the floor. They hit every metric. Everyone respects them. 6 months later, they're burnt out, the team's super disengaged, your supervisor's very frustrated, and you're wondering what went wrong. Sound familiar? Same. I've had the experience too. For those of you that have followed me, you know that I love the Gallup reports that come out. But the reason is because they focus so much on team engagement. It showcases front and center the problems that the teams know are happening that managers just turn a side eye to. Gallup just confirmed what many of us have suspected. When we promote based off of performance instead of management talent, we actually co-create disengaged supervisors who later create more disengaged teams. This is known as something called the Peter Principle in action, and it's costing organizations more than they even realize. So today, we're going to talk about why your best employee just became your worst manager. And don't worry, we'll talk about what to do about it. And don't worry, we'll talk about how to navigate it too. So first of all, the Peter Principle says that employees rise to a level of respected incompetence. We promote high-performing people until their performance declines. Well, Gallup found in the research among frontline supervisors that 65% of frontline supervisors obtained their current position based on their prior performance and/or years of service. That means that only 30% were selected based on their supervisory skills, their experience, or sheer talent. Here's the kicker. There is an 11% gap in engagement of supervisors who are promoted for performance and those supervisors who are promoted for supervisory skills. That 11% gap matters because manager engagement accounts for at least 70% of team level engagement. That means the team that they are leading. 70% is an indicator of the engagement of the leader themselves leading that team. Managers in that top percent of engagement have teams that are 11% more engaged than the average team. So to boil this down and translate this in a way that we can all articulate is when you promote your best worker into a supervisory role and they're not equipped for it, you don't just get one disengaged supervisor. You get an entire disengaged team. So why do we keep doing this? Why does this keep happening? Gallup shared 3 reasons that I agree with. The first one is that it's because performance is visible. Managing talent is not. You can see who hits their numbers. You can see who shows up on time with their attendance. You can see in guest feedback who customers love, but you can't easily have a measurement to natural ability of who can motivate others, who can set goals strategically, who knows how to appropriately prioritize, who knows how to build committed teams, not to mention who can think analytically about problems. So what do? We default to visibility. The second thing that they mentioned is that we confuse good at the job for good at leading people doing the job. Your top salesperson knows that they close deals, but that doesn't mean that they know how to coach others to do the same thing. Your best nurse in a hospital setting, they know how to manage patient care appropriately, But that doesn't mean that they can develop a team who can all do the exact same thing in the same way that they do. They're completely different skill sets. The third thing that Gallup called out is that we treat a promotion as the only reward to our team and our people. Hey, you're doing a great job, so here's more responsibility. But what if that person loved just being great at their current role? What if they don't want to manage people and process? We have created and continue to foster in systems where the only way to advance is to leave behind what you're actually good at. And here's my firsthand experience from what I saw while working at Target all the time when it comes to talent and promotional pipelines. I managed stores where the best individual contributors got promoted to supervisory roles. And then I watched them struggle. Not because they weren't talented, they absolutely were. But it's because the talent required to be great in retail is very different than the talent required to develop people who are great at retail. And when I started selecting managers for the talent that they bring to the team in regards to leading a team, that's when everything started to change. The supervisors were actually more engaged. Their teams, therefore, were more engaged. Turnover dropped. It wasn't even a topic of conversation anymore. And the overall performance of an operation improved across the board. It's not because I hired differently or I asked better questions in an interview, but because I decided to assess talent in the right ways and put the right people in the management roles specifically. Now, don't get me wrong, there is a huge training gap here, or rather a training opportunity. But here's another problem that Gallup beautifully articulates in the article that I'm attaching to the show notes. Only 45% of frontline workers who become supervisors actually received supervisor training in the past 1 year. That means 23% never received training at all. Think about that. We promote someone based on their ability to stock the shelves, serve the customers, or manufacture a product. Then we give them a whole team to manage on top of the process that they were very good at executing. And we don't train them how to lead people. But here's the good news. Frontline supervisors who did receive the training in this past year on how to effectively lead other people saw an increase of 79% being more engaged, 19% less likely to burn out, and 11% less likely to be job hunting secretly. Training works when it's the right training, but only if we do it in the right ways. Training works better when you've actually selected management talent in the first place. So that brings me to ask the question, how do we fix this? Well, theoretically, there's two strategies. Strategy one is to select for management talent, not just performance. You got to look through both lenses, and you got to assess both lenses. We could also use science-based assessments and structured interviews to identify how a potential supervisor actually motivates. Can they inspire others? And do they even know how to articulate that if they do? It could also include how to identify their own working style. Can they set goals and arrange resources appropriately? And again, articulate that and how it will work across a larger landscape of both people and process. Think about initiation. Can they influence and push through the resistance that we all know leaders face all day long? Think about collaboration. Can they build a committed team? Not out of compliance, but out of collaboration. Don't even get me started on the thought process assessment. Can they think strategically? Can they think in a prioritized delete? Don't even get me started on assessing the thought process side of things. Can a potential supervisor think strategically? Can they help prioritize appropriately while protecting the strategy as the bigger picture? Gallup created a meta-analysis that showed the hiring based off managerial talent alone not only retained their team, but increased that bottom line. Increased the bottom line by 21% at that. profits by 32% per manager. That's not a small difference. The second strategy could be to invest in timely training. Don't wait 6 months to do it. Train your team in the pipeline before they even step foot into the role or immediately after. And make it ongoing. Continuous training is where the magic happens. Management isn't just a skill that you learn once. It's repetition. It's all the time. It's continuous dialogue. And it's around the right things to make your team successful. If you've listened to my episodes before, you know this point's coming. The dinner table test. When your newly promoted supervisor goes home and they talk about their day, what are they saying about the way that you lead them? If you promoted them for performance without the right support, it's going to sound something like, I have no idea what I am doing. Nobody really trained me, even though I'm newly out of training. My team is struggling and I feel like I'm failing. But if you slow down enough and you select talent and train them appropriately, it could sound something like, I'm learning so much about my leadership. My manager is supporting me in ways that I didn't even know that they could do. Not only do I feel confident in my ability to succeed, I feel equipped to lead the teams that I now oversee to succeed. That's what magnetic leadership looks like. Create advancement paths that don't require management. Let your best individual contributors stay great at what they do and advance financially. When you do promote to management, select the talent first. Performance matters, yes, of course, but management talent matters more because that's actually the definition of the job of a leader. Train early and often. Don't expect people just to figure it out on their own because they won't. Measure for supervisory engagement separately than you do performance metrics. If your supervisors are disengaged, their teams will be too. I guarantee it. The Peter Principle is real. It's funny to say, and I probably can't say it 3 times fast, but it is costing you more than you think. But it is fixable. Stop promoting based solely on performance and start selecting management talent. And when you do promote, train them. I cannot stress this enough. Your best employee doesn't have to become your worst manager. Yes, we are taught on how to train and execute and deliver results, but a lot of times we're not taught how to effectively lead. And it's self-inflicted why we see turnover and disengaged teams the way we do across the landscape in all industries. But again, it's fixable. Only if you stop treating management like it's a reward and start treating it like the skill that it is. If you want to dig into some of the research and the further details from Gallup, you can check it out in the show notes. Until next time, I'm Brin'na Rollins-Williams, and this is the Legacy Lounge. That's it for this episode of Legacy Lounge, a podcast dedicated to empowering you to lead with purpose. Remember, leadership begins with you. When you're connected to your values, strengths, and authentic self, you show up powerfully for your team, businesses, and everyone you lead. To authentically lead others, you must first lead yourself. I challenge you to consider, how are you investing in your personal growth to create a legacy that you envision? Thank you for joining me in the Legacy Lounge. If this episode sparked any thoughts or inspired action, I'd love to hear from you. I'm your host, Brin'na Rollins-Williams. Connect with me on LinkedIn or other socials, and let's continue the conversation. Remember, your legacy is built one intentional step at a time.